Hysteria over Project 2025 is the new hoax being perpetrated by Marc Elias. Marc Elias is one of the leaders in the Democrat Party who gives them their marching orders. Marc Elias is spearheading the left-wing attacks on the 2024 election by tying Trump to Project 2025. And then Marc Elias is pushing a hoax of what Project 2025 really is about. So what is Project 2025? According to its founder's words, it's a desire to undo the damage the left has done to government offices. It pushes for conservatives to be hired into positions in place of sexting scandal liars like Peter Strzok or the FBI lawyer Kevin Clinesmith, who brought us the Carter Page FISA warrant scandal. That was during the 2016 campaign. The Trump campaign claimed the Obama administration used the FISA warrants to spy on their campaign. Everyone ridiculed them, but it turned out to be true. A quick read on Wikipedia tells you they want partisan control of the DOJ, FBI, FCC, FTC, and to dismantle the DHS. Aside from that, they want to focus more on fossil fuels and ease up on climate change regulations. Remember Peter Strzok and Lisa Page? They were sexting each other in a scandal trying to overturn the election in 2016? Or how about Kevin Clinesmith when he lied in that email and brought us the Carter Page scandal? It is unbelievable. This guy was the gateway to Russiagate. Marc Elias fights for people like Kevin Clinesmith who are corrupt to be in the administration. And the person he victimized most was Carter Page. And look how gracious Carter Page is. Kevin Clinesmith upended his life. He received many death threats. And Carter Page doesn't even ask for prison time and requests that this guy can go see his family. Which side do you want to populate your government? Who remembers Department of Energy official Sam Brinton? He was stealing women's clothing from the airport. He'd steal it right out of their suitcases. He finally got caught by a designer, and he wore her dress. Hey, who wore it better? Does anyone care that we want to replace these people? Project 2025 would get rid of this and replace it with boring businessmen. So let's go back to this description. The FBI, DOJ, FCC, FTC, and DHS would have their personnel replaced. Who's there now? A lot of people Marc Elias fought for, and you'll know some of these names. The American people aren't too impressed with any of these folks. I encourage you to look them up, and Project 2025 will look a whole lot better. It should be pointed out that Project 2025 might actually hold on to Lina Khan. For some reason, Kamala Harris billionaire donors want her thrown out. Marc Elias describes Project 2025 like this. Project 2025 at its core is a power grab to have Donald Trump seize control of the entire executive branch, replace civil service with political operatives, to punish his enemies and reward his friends. Now that particular phrase, to punish his enemies and reward his friends, why would Marc Elias put that out there? Marc Elias puts it out there verbatim so that if you search it up, it'll eventually bring up Trump. Marc Elias wants to conceal the original source of this quote, President Obama, who used this phrase.
And if Latinos sit out the election, instead of saying we're going to punish our enemies and we're going to reward our friends who stand with us on issues that are important to us.
It is such obvious gaslighting Marc Elias engages in here by putting President Obama's words in the mouth of the Project 2025 campaign. He is very deliberately trying to capitalize on things his side has said for years and project them onto Donald Trump, hoping the audience is too stupid to notice. So you can see the hysteria over Project 2025 is just another Marc Elias hoax. He brought us other hoaxes, like the Steele dossier. I wrote about the origins of the Steele dossier back in 2019. Never Trump Republicans started it, but Marc Elias saw the value in it when they gave up and picked up the tab. How these two sides were working together is still kind of a mystery. The article is titled, Never Trump Started the Steele Dossier Debacle. Democrats ran with the ball. It's a long read, but it describes a lot of details the media has never gotten into about the Steele dossier. After some Never Trump Republicans gave up on funding the Steele dossier, knowing it was garbage, Marc Elias, the Hillary Clinton campaign, and John Podesta himself took over funding it. They knew very well the dossier was filled with lies, but they tried to deny that they even knew they were funding it. When they were questioned later by congressional investigators, they tried to say they had no idea who was funding the dossier. It was Marc Elias the whole time, using money they controlled. They actually tried to lie about it. Now, if John Podesta, Hillary Clinton, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz were telling the truth, which, that's hard to believe, then Marc Elias is really the guy running things for the Democrat Party. And when you have Marc Elias sitting next to John Podesta, who is denying he knows how this thing is funded, in front of reporters, how can you trust anything Marc Elias says? And Marc Elias is notorious for controversial meddling in elections. He helped steal the Minnesota election for Al Franken from Norm Coleman. Way back in 2008, Democrat groups marched hundreds of convicted felons in to vote, enough to overturn the margin of victory. It wasn't discovered until years later, but it's how they do things. It's how Marc Elias does things. Of course, George Soros got involved too, and we're all supposed to ignore that. The story of the voting felons possibly overturning the election result is covered by John Fund in the Wall Street Journal. He's pretty objective about it. It's a good read. Just like he did in the Minnesota election, Marc Elias went to work on the 2020 election as well. Remember the notorious Time magazine article about the shadow campaign that saved the election in 2020? Well, Marc Elias ran the legal game for that entire shadow campaign. Using COVID-19 as both a cover and a scapegoat, Marc Elias and his allies funneled billions in dark money into local municipalities across the country that they specifically targeted to run a left-wing shadow get-out-the-vote campaign. Marc Elias was changing our election laws. His groups did everything in their power to make the chain of custody of ballots more confusing. It's also worth noting that he trots out this hoax with Nicole Wallace. Nicole Wallace is one of the worst liars for the deep state. They love her sociopathic ability to gaslight the hell out of the American people. Nicole Wallace has often lost her struggles with the truth. Here's a couple examples.
The Russians get their soldiers to rape children by dehumanizing them. You now have a president, as you said, talking about exterminating Latinos. Critical race theory, which isn't real. It may be dirty, but it ain't fake.
I mean, trying to say the Steele dossier was truthful is, it's pretty desperate. And it fits right in with the desperation Marc Elias feels when he describes Project 2025 in these hysterical terms. Marc Elias is just perpetrating another hoax when he attacks Project 2025.